I cannot express to you what a revelation it was for me to show. So I didn't listen to your show before I was on your show, really. I had heard it. I'd been a guest on it maybe once or twice, the radio show. But not from Miami. Again, I was like shedding the exoskeleton of like literary sports writer. And so when I came in and realized like what the fuck you guys were doing, it changed my perspective on what this job could be. And today, when we did the show, I'm just like, the fact that this moves so quickly, that it's so light and easy and fun, it literally was not dreamable for my parents that this would actually be more worthwhile, more lucrative, more anything than the shit that was pain.
There's not a lot that I'm prouder of than the idea that you could alter the form slightly enough that others would gravitate toward it and then get permission to be happier, because it's a consistent theme with the people who get our show from the inside, you or Amin. I remember this happened with Amin. Jorge Sedano, who is stereotypically Cuban and knows me and my family very well, so much so that Sedano will call my mother every single week just to talk to her. He told me very early on, he said, Amin Al-Hassan, of all the people in the company, get him down to what you're doing, get him around what you're doing, because he needs it, you need him, et cetera, et cetera. And Amin gets to ESPN from Front Office Sports and is immediately looking around the studio where he is, because they have him going out and standing on a particular mark. And Amin's like, wait a minute, I want to color outside of the lines a little bit. Why do I have to do this according to format and regimen? Why isn't this more like the playground? So that the idea that we got to ESPN and that Skipper empowered us with an ability to lure people like you who wanted to do it a little differently, it's a hugely flattering compliment to be able to, blaze that trail for people who needed it blazed.
I think that is what I think you should be most confident in, by the way, is being a person who, for others, is living a life that they did not have the confidence to design for themselves. Like, you did it, man. Like, that's the thing about all of this. The reason why I went from, like, full-time Disney employee who they wanted to do the shows that I was doing, all of that. I have nothing bad to say about ESPN on that front. They believed in me. They wanted the fact that I went from that to working for you, going from inside of the orca suit, talking to Jesse Ventura in like my second show about 9/11 conspiracy theories, to X number of years later, less than 10 years later, working for and with you and giving up health care while I have a 3-year-old is fucking nuts. Like, that is some genie bullshit. Like, who could have ever thought that?
Well, I'm not sure I thought it. I should tell the audience who doesn't know that you were the ordained minister at my wedding, a choice made by my wife, who isn't terribly trusting of outsiders. Not by me. That was not a choice made by me, and that I agreed with it. I wasn't disagreeing, but I think it's a choice that she made herself, and she made it for me. And but she trusted you.
You have been clear about that. This was Valerie's call.
Yeah, well, she calls our wedding, a party for Dan's friends. But you getting in there was something that not a lot of people have done, but I could not have fathomed this moment or where we are now going back 4 years, 3 years through some of the conversations where at the end, when I saw that I was being squeezed at ESPN and I saw that Bomani had left highly questionable, so we had seats next to my father that were available, but a certain number of days, and we had a whole lot of people at ESPN who were in peril because they were cutting salaries in half, and so you and Sarah and Katie and well, Mina less so because Mina had opportunities.
But this was early on, though. This was early on, Dan. Like, you were giving us an identity as like, oh, you're the people who do this thing.
Oh, but I'm not talking about then, right? I'm not talking about all of you. That was weird. Dating on television was weird. Dating co-hosts on television as a construct was strange because I didn't know how to work. We all learned how to do that together without having, a natural chemistry at the start. But I'm talking about when I knew it was about to end at ESPN or that I didn't have very many days left. And I was just trying to protect not just myself, but that seat next to us that would have protected a lot of salaries and a lot of careers. You were scared back then. I recall coming back from my honeymoon and you were scared, and not only scared, but scared enough that 10 minutes into a conversation, you informed me that you and your wife were pregnant after we covered 10 minutes of work-related stuff before that. And to imagine this from there is damn near impossible because the safety net of health insurance matters. The safety net of Disney and the protection of employer. It's one of the reasons I admire my brother's success so much because he did it without a safety net. He did it without a sugar daddy that just protects you at every turn, selling art out of the back of his car.
It's important to note in the chronology of things that when Violet is born, it is February 24th, 2020. When Violet is born, I am in the hospital room, and Liz is physically giving birth, and the doctor and the nurses are there. And in my mind, what I'm realizing in a very out-of-body way is that, oh, no, my brain is not fully devoted to the birth of my child. My brain is also sharing space with the fact that High Noon just got canceled and has just been announced as canceled on the day I was in the hospital. So the imprinting, like, why did I take 10 minutes to mention that Violet was going to be a thing? It's because the entire time I was worried about what the fuck am I going to do about the fact that this person is going to rely on me in ways that I am clearly not confident in my ability to
so they
provide.
were together. Like, it's not just the responsibility of fatherhood and all that entails minus the work stuff. You're talking about the responsibility of being able to provide for that child was something that was also in play for you.
It was the two things. It was, wow, this is not this magical panacea that's going to wipe away all of my anxieties.
So was it joy in the hospital room?
There
it was fear?
It was, I would say, overwhelmingly, I was absolutely joyous, but with that real layer. It was concern in the costume of joy or vice versa. Like, the real thing I was feeling was, I cannot believe, I had the thought to myself, as if I was watching a documentary about my life. I cannot believe that I'm always going to remember this moment with this thought in my head. And they were born together. My insecurity was born alongside my daughter. And I realized, oh, this is not going to magically make me into a fully present dad, because clearly I failed the test from as soon as I could possibly take it, that one. I'm thinking about work and not being present for this shit. Like, what an asshole. And the second thing is, why? Why could I not be so present? And it was because I was already concerned about how am I going to do right by her.
It's funny you mention all of this, though, because I haven't talked to you about it, nor have I thought about it. Like, your coming here is something that's exciting and wonderful, and I just feel thrilled that I'm able to do this with my friends in general. But I don't know why you're here. I haven't, I do, but I don't.
People should know that. People should know that. I did not join this company because you and I were plotting hour to hour, how am I going to be extracted from ESPN? That's not how this happened. What happened is after showing up in an orca suit and then beyond, became a super fan of this show, of your show. And I did not stop listening. And in the back of my mind was always, alongside existential dread and how to provide, was this notion of like, in an uncertain future in which we don't know which icebergs will be remaining, I want to work with people that I love that seem to have figured something out about how this could be. I wanted to be part of your family. That was fundamentally the decision that I made. Was, yes, great, I can do some TV stuff, stay with ESPN, perfect, always love that. I don't want to minimize that. That is so important to me. It really is. But in terms of like, how am I self-identifying now? I didn't need you to explain that to me because you had begun explaining that to me back in 2014. Like, I didn't need you to retell me those conversations because I heard them the first time, and I did not forget.